What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining for another recap session today. So I'm going to cover my trades today. Thankfully, it was a green day today after yesterday's disastrous red day. Again, red days are not a problem. It's just that I wasn't disciplined enough and I didn't stick to my guardrails and I stepped outside of my plan. And today, actually, I'm going to say that I wasn't disciplined either today in terms of sticking to my share size. But I guess thankfully I've been green. The upside of today, I would say the highlight of perhaps today was my patience waiting for the right stock to come up. I had a couple of missed opportunities, quite frustrating, but at the same time acknowledging that I had those missed opportunities and not trying to force anything and force a trade. So as you know, yesterday I finished the day $138.13 in the red. Today I'm ending the day on $33.15 in the green. So slow recovery. We still got another week and a half, almost 2 weeks left of September. So we'll see what the market brings, but I'll continue sticking to my 20 share size from tomorrow. And it's most likely that I'll end the month red, but it's fine. It is what it is. I think it's a big learning curve for me, but we'll have a quick look at my stats so far and see what I've been doing over the past couple of weeks in September. All right, let's dive in. Let me just. So the first trade I took was on SLNH today. So one thing to bear in mind is that we had a lot of Chinese stock moving today. So there was I guess, China stock play today. And a lot of the moves were quite elaborate, and then they'll come like a massive dump. There are no market orders pre-market, as you know, so you're more expected to see this behavior after market open, after 9:30. But pre-market, you can obviously set, you could still sell a massive size and send it out into the market and say, look, I want to sell anything from your best price or the ask price minus 20, 30 cents. So that technically becomes some sort of, in effect, some sort of a market order, which basically allows the exchanges to give you the best price available to them within the range that you've provided. And that's why you can sometimes see this flushing effect where you get a massive sell order that comes in with a very wide offset, which then flushes all the prices down. Whereas if you had a massive order of 10,000 and you just put it on to sell at $10, it would just sit there until somebody keeps buying at $10. But then if you send it into the market with an offset of 10, 20 cents, then what you're saying in effect is anything from $10 to $9.90, I'm happy to accept. So that's why you sometimes get these big orders. Anyway, in any case, there's a lot of Chinese stock popping on the scanners, and some of them made some huge moves, but I stayed away from them because I just couldn't trust them. So the trade I took on SLNH, again, this didn't have any news. It wasn't necessarily a big, strong stock at all to trade, but it was just this candle that I wanted to get in and capture. But I think I got in too late, and I perhaps got in on the way down because it popped up so quickly that I didn't get to actually capitalize on the move properly. So I got in at 129, 132 roughly, and I saw that at 133 because I was a bit nervous. And that just gave me a total of $3 on that trade. So that was my first trade, and that was around 7 o'clock this morning. I didn't take any more trades until news popped up on TURB. So I had fresh news on this stock, which was to say that they were able to win a $53 million deal on some solar powered green energy. My annoyance with this stock today was that, so as you know, I rely on Warrior Trading scanners, and that's where I get the stocks that are moving and so on. at 8 o'clock, this stock started moving, and I was watching it, in this area at 5:33, but I didn't see any news on it. I didn't see any news on any of the scanners. I didn't see anything, and I knew there was news, but I just wasn't confident enough to take a starter position at here at five. Well, high of that candle was 5:45, and until I only got the news on the scanners on the Warrior Trading dashboard 2 minutes later. So by that point, you can see that I missed the entire move. And because I've been a bit more cautious, and I'm like, well, I'm not just going to jump on anything that moves. I need to see the catalyst. And I didn't have enough conviction because I hadn't seen the news yet. So I am annoyed, and I've seen this more often than I'd like to on the Warrior Trading scanners, where the news is released a couple of minutes later than what the scanners tell you that's happening. And the reason the stock is moving is because the news has come out, right? Why is it that we are getting the news 2 minutes later on the dashboard? So that's something that I'm going to feed back to Ross's team. But in any case, I managed to capture a small move on this small red candle because I was hoping that it was going to make a move up. It didn't trade as strongly as I hoped it would. I mean, it still made a huge move, but everybody made their money in that move, and I completely missed this initial move. Then I traded this candle here. I lost a bit of money on this follow-up candle, and that's it. I left it as that, and that gave me a total of $39. There's 3 trades that I took, minus the small loss that I took on it. It gave me $39. I was trading with 50 shares or more, so that's why the gain was a bit larger than normally would be on a 20 share position. But in any case, the other thing that I was slightly annoyed with is that I was waiting for a pullback, and it broke through this VWAP, but I was watching this area and I had my finger hovering on the buy button for this area, and honestly, before I knew it, it just popped and ripped all the way up to $8. So I was gutted that I missed this move, because that was, to be honest, after this initial move, that was the cleanest move. And I think my concern was here that the MACD was sort of closing, and perhaps it wasn't going to give me a strong move, and I didn't want to get faked out on this surge. In any case, yeah, that was probably the nicest move. As you can see, it sort of sold off. And then the next stock was APVO, which was the last stock I traded, and I just took one trade on it. Again, frustratingly, the timing wasn't too great on it. So I missed the initial move because that happened very quickly. I was waiting to see what it was doing, and I was waiting for a pullback in this area, and I thought, sort of lower red volume, but to be honest, this should have probably been more of a red flag. And I was hoping that this new candle will break the high of the previous red candle, because that would have been the end of the pullback, but I was wrong. So I got in and got out with 50 shares. I lost $8.50 on this trade, and that was my last trade. But in fact, if you look at it closely, the pullback that I was looking for was in this area. And I think at this point I just decided not to trade anyway, because I was getting set up for this video, and that would have been a nicer pullback. I suppose on reflection, I should have allowed for it to come back further, but yeah, for some reason, I guess it didn't react in the same way as I thought it would react. And you can see the shift in the way stocks are moving from last week to this week. Although saying that, we've had some ridiculous stocks move, 2,000% this week as well, but you want the stocks to move and react to the news as in the usual way, or the way that you're prepared for, because this is healthy, but the continuation isn't there. All right, so that was the quick recap. Let's have a look at my stats very quickly for this week. Well, I'm not going to go through the stats. I'm just going to show you the P&L. So as you can see, I am down $112, and that's all thanks to this trade from yesterday. Today's trade is going to put me up slightly, but the lesson here is that even though my first trades were not great, I should have just walked away or stuck to a smaller size. So just for the sake of this video, I'm going to expand on this specific trades that I took yesterday. But as you can see, it started off with me buying and selling 20 shares. So the volume needs divided by 2, and that gives you what my entry was. And then the next trade, I took 40 shares. So as you can see, I started very small. I could have perhaps stepped back and walked away, but for some reason, I reacted to it really weirdly. And you know, like a lot of things like sleep and what your weekend's been like could affect your decision making. So there's all this constant analysis that goes on about what your decision making capabilities are at that moment. But as you can see, if I hadn't messed around with it, I had other opportunities which would have easily put me in the green. And I'm going to point out, obviously here I've been taking larger size, and as you can see, I was scaling up, not sticking to my rules at all. So it wasn't good at all, and it wasn't great. And even to the point where I think I took a 500 share position here, which luckily was a smaller loss. But in any case, by that point, I think I'd missed a move on CHEK. But but the overall, I guess, what I'm trying to point out here is that I should have realized that I'm being triggered, and I should have stepped away. And as you can see, I recovered most of my loss, the initial loss of $44, and I was down $6.11, but then gave it back, then recovered, then gave it back, then recovered, then gave some back. So it wasn't a good day of trading. It definitely showcases that I wasn't probably in the right frame of mind to continue trading, and I was being stubborn, and I wasn't sticking to the obvious signs, the obvious triggers that were causing me to make those decisions. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it here and end the session here. But thanks for joining again. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'll be here tomorrow for another day of trading. Stay green, and I'll speak to you guys.